Welcome to Killer Women with your host, best-selling author, Danielle Girard. The Killer Women Vodcast is pleased to be a part of the Authors on the Air Global Radio Network. To learn more about Danielle and her books, visit her at www.daniellegirard.com, and to access all of our vodcasts, go to youtube.com/Authors on the Air. And now, Danielle's next killer woman.
Welcome to Killer Women Podcast, a proud member of the Authors on the Air Global Network with over 4 million listeners. I am your host, suspense author Danielle Girard, and my guest today is Yasmin Angoe. Yasmin is the author of the award-nominated Her Name is Knight, the first book in the Nena Knight trilogy. She is a first-generation Ghanaian American, former English teacher, and the recipient of the 2020 Eleanor Taylor Bland Award for Emerging Writers of Color from Sisters in Crime. Her Name is Knight was an Amazon Best Book of the Month for mystery, thriller, and suspense, and is an editor's pick. Yasmin is a nominee for the 2022 Anthony Awards for the Best Book, Best First Book, the Silver Falcon Award for Best Thriller. Yasmin's work has received numerous recognitions, best of lists, and a Library Journal starred review. Her Name is Knight has appeared in OprahDaily.com, Woman's World Book Club, Pop Sugar, Nerd Daily, the Washington Independent Review of Books, and on other platforms. Her Name is Knight received a Kirkus review calling it a parable of reclaiming power and tribal identity by seizing power at all costs. The second in the Nena Knight series, They Come at Night, and it's right here, beautiful, look at these gorgeous covers, is actually coming out September 13th, which is actually next week. So, welcome, Yasmin.
Thank you for having me.
It's so fun. Okay, so I think people should start with this book. It just sets up Nena and her world and her family and her job. So tell us a little bit about the series and Nena, and then we'll introduce the new book because that's what's coming next. So first, tell us about Nena.
All right, so as you said, Nena is the elite Ghanaian assassin for this clandestine organization, African organization called the Tribe. Well, they're the African Tribal Council, but they are known as the Tribe, and it is head up by her father, Noble Knight. And she is basically I think my agent said like the tip of their spear. And I was like, I like that.
Yep.
But yeah, so she works with a unit within the organization called the Dispatch Unit. And they're the ones that are sent out to dispatch people who run afoul of the organization. But no worries, it's people who are already not that great to begin with.
That's right, so, bad people.
Mm-hmm. So they are, she works with a code. She may be an assassin, but she has a code.
She absolutely does have a code.
Mm-hmm.
And the newest book, so this original book, talk to us about sort of how Nena becomes part of the Knight family, her own, really difficult trauma. And then this new book, which is, I literally read them back to back. I was like, put one down. I was like, where's the next one? And now I'm like, where's the next Nena Knight book, please? And I'm ahead of you. I'm ready. You're not quite ready. So tell us about They Come at Night. That takes us actually back to Ghana.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So in They Come at Night, she really goes back to her roots. It's her first time kind of going back to where she originally came from and being there for a certain amount of time. And she takes with her her found family and her new people. I guess I don't necessarily want to spoil it for those who haven't read
this one first.
So you should get it.
But there are some people.
But yeah, there's some people. So she takes her tribe, the tribe that she has kind of accumulated with her, and they go to Ghana, and the tribe has some things that they're trying to do philanthropy wise. And so what happens is they just kind of come under fire by this.
Yes.
By this unknown force that is like setting out to kind of dismantle them and undo all of the good that they have done. And so Nena has to go out and figure out who it is and how to stop them before they just totally demolish everything that the tribe has established, and also that they're coming specifically for her family. And so she takes that a little personal.
She does, and you do not want to be on the wrong side of Nena Knight. Not at all. Okay, so tell us, what was so how was Nena born? How did that happen?
So she was born out of the need that I had to really have someone who looked like me, and she doesn't really look like me. There is an actress out there that I actually, that was my muse that I envisioned.
Love it. Do you want to share that, or are you gonna?
Yeah, well, I don't want to mess up her name, but it's Yetere Barake, and she is on. Oh gosh, what is that? Neil Gaiman. American Gods.
Oh,
she's on American Gods, and I think
she is
yes, she's a goddess, and so she is who I envisioned when I was writing Nena.
Well, and I love you can. I mean, I don't. This isn't probably the actress, but these book covers are Nena in these dresses, and it is just so. And this one
fierce,
too, she is fierce and gorgeous and fabulous, and they're probably not even the same woman, but they're so just beautiful sort of manifestations of these outfits that she has to wear. So part of her job as being part of the Knight family is that she has to get dressed up, which is really not Nena's thing. It's more her sister's thing.
It's her sister's
thing.
Her
sister loves to dress her.
Is the fashionista.
Yes.
And Nena just is happy in some jeans and some boots and a graphic tee because it's always got to be kind of black because you never know if you're gonna get blood on you. So.
And if you're gonna have to hide in the dark, that's right.
Exactly.
So so I interrupted because we started talking about the actress. So Nena was born of course, the desire to.
Yes, and I am an avid reader of thrillers, horrors, and action, and I watch it as well. And so what I was seeing back in 2011 or something like that, I really wasn't seeing a lot of that. Right. So not just somebody who looked like me, but a woman, period, in that kind of position where she is not the one being saved. She's not the love interest. Right. She's not the girl Friday feeding all the information to the hero. She is the hero.
She is the
hero. And I was like, you know what? I don't really see too many of these.
We need heroes.
I'm going to write this because that's what I want to see. Somebody that I could just be like, oh, that's so badass and things like that. And so, and I also wanted to incorporate my culture since my parents, they immigrated here from Ghana to go to school. And I just really wanted to just incorporate that culture and have that, Ghanaian pride, that African pride, and also have a pride of being a woman, of being a Black woman, and being a person in a space where people don't normally see you or expect you to be. And to be doing it with so many layers, just like the men, but even better.
Exactly. Yeah. That's exactly. And actually, the thing that's amazing about Nena is the people that she surrounds herself with, and her neighbor, a really good friend, who has his own force and also
he has an inappropriate name.
He has
an inappropriate, and he's proud of it.
That's right. And he is. He's also on the wrong side of the law per se, but also, that is what's wonderful about him is that it shows the sort of the nuance of people's situation. It isn't black and white, right? It isn't you're not all bad. Nobody is all bad, and nobody's all good.
That's right.
We're all we're all shades of gray. So, and one of the things actually I think that is also wonderful about this book and these books is sort of the issues that they confront about justice. So one of the characters in Nena's tribe is Court, who is a DA, and of course, so that means his justice has to be, he has to serve justice in really sort of narrow, not very fair lines that justice lives in everywhere, but particularly of course in America, right? And there's this great line, it's in this one that I always sticky my books, but I didn't bring my books.
I didn't bring my sticky either. I think, did you say it was on 107?
Yes, it's 107. It's just I normally have these marked in my copies, but my copies are nice at home, staying nice and clean. So Nena says, I believe she's talking about the justice system in America, and she's talking to Court, and she says, I believe your system flawed, highly so, but I don't judge it. It is misused and imbalanced constructed to serve only a select group of people, and we know who they are. They most certainly don't look like you or me. She raised an eyebrow to put a period on her point. She's also very, I love her, all her expressions. And then she says, when other brands of justice pop up to even out that imbalance just a smidge, shouldn't you be relieved? Shouldn't you be like, finally justice is served? And of course, so she's talking about her brand of justice, which is not technically, legal. But this is a really important question. Like, do we need in the world Nenas?
Maybe not to Nena's degree.
So we shouldn't
raise my eyebrow.
Yeah, we shouldn't promote murder, maybe.
Yeah, no, but I do believe that there are shades of gray, and I mean we could see it in our own like justice system now, and what we're seeing in the news now when we're like, oh, why didn't such and such? It seems pretty clear that this person did this thing, and why are judges able to make these decisions when and why are people appointed when they're clearly biased and things like that, and so that's what she's saying is that like when you live by those rules that are written,
right,
it boxes you in when you know that someone is really like cruel and they've done cruel things that just because justice isn't the way America's justice is doesn't mean that justice is wrong. Like and she's saying that everybody's justice is different in other countries and whatever, and that doesn't make them wrong. That just means that they just have a certain code that they live by and a certain system, and then you also have to just be able to be flexible,
right,
with what you see, and you take that on a case-by-case basis. I think that's basically what she's saying is, it's not like you're just going to go and unilaterally kill people,
right,
or punish them just because you want to, but like there's got to be a certain reason why, and whatever that reason is, that doesn't make it wrong,
right?
It just means that it's what it was needed for that particular situation at that time.
Justice needs some help, basically. I mean, that's, I think, right? I mean, I think that's the issue, and I think Nena, and it's interesting because in the second book, she is faced with a situation to dispatch that it feels uncomfortable. So then there's all this, then it becomes, of course, the question is like, what happens when she makes a mistake, right? Or when she's told something that is with the intel's bad, or so.
Oh, and I will say, especially with Court, Court, they also, her decisions that she makes when it comes to justice is guided by her life experiences.
Yes.
And their life experiences are not the same.
No.
And so he has grown up and was, a cop and then a lawyer. So he's always lived in the law enforcement. But he hasn't lived the life that she has lived.
Right.
Where, things were really cruel and unfair. She's been through it. And so therefore her way of, justice, things should have been handled for her, as Court would say, by his justice, but they weren't.
No.
And she had to handle, as you can see from the first book, she had to handle some things herself to get her own form of justice. And so I think that's really what guides it. And I think even in the first book, she says, like we've lived different lives.
Yes.
And so therefore, our justices are going to be different.
Yes.
And you've got to like accept that or not.
And that's actually, I think that's an important message across all of the characters. And this is why it's so important, I think, to read people whose lives are different than ours, whose experiences are different because of, where they come from globally, what their, ethnic background is, education, every single thing, right? Because this is the only way we understand it. And to be honest, like my idea of justice, I would argue before reading about Nena, reading stories like Nena's, I would have been like, oh no, this isn't the way, we have to follow this. But then things happen to people and you think, oh, well, screw that. Let's just, I think there's no person who could read this book and be like, well, she did what she had to do. Right. I mean, the choice was survival, right? She had to survive. She had to do what she had to do. And I love that kind of story. And I love that she comes out of it not as a monster.
Yeah.
But
which is very important to me because with the job that she has,
right,
it's hard. And that was one of the questions I asked myself. And one of my critical partners asked me, like, how do we make an assassin, a likable character that the reader is going to want to push for? And I was like, yeah, you're right. How do I do that? And that meant giving her so many like layers. I like to say she's like Shrek, and she's an onion, and there's many layers to her. But like, that's why you have like so much of, her backstory guides her current.
Right.
And you see where she's come from. This book is like really like her origin story.
Yeah.
And you see how her formulated thinking, you know, has come about. And I think that, like you said, you might not agree with killing. I certainly don't. You know what I'm saying? But I can understand why somebody would in these, you know, instances and things like that. And I also appreciate that she doesn't just go and just kill like unilaterally. Like, and even in the organization for which she works, they're very specific about who it is that they are
and why.
Yeah, and why. And I appreciate that. So.
Me too. I absolutely do. Another theme in the books, which I really appreciate, is trust.
Yeah.
So because there's this, you know, it's, you know, Nena basically in her origin story, you learn she's on her own. I mean, there's nobody protecting young Nena at the age, you know, between the ages of like what I don't know. She's like
14 and like between 14 and 15.
Yeah. So she's, you know, really, I mean, you know, and she just, her whole world was sort of ripped out from under her. And yet, you know, she also, while you could say she's jaded in some respects, like, but she's very honest and practical about sort of what the stuff that really happens. She's also, you know, she also lets this whole new group of people in.
Yeah. And
she has really, you know, high standards for trust, and she's very trustworthy. And I love the fact that there's, I mean, again, we're not ruining any stories. You have to read it. But the people, the sort of accumulation of they're it's an eclectic bunch, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's, you know, it includes a gang member, you know, a DA, a teenager, you know, and then of course her family. So I love that about her too. I love the fact that trust is so important to her. And when it gets wrecked, which it does in certain instances in each book, it gets trust. And it is, you know, that's sort of the kiss of death. Especially for when Nena's behind her weapon. And then talk to us about family, because that's another, you know, and, you know, we're all sort of some culmination of our born family and our created family. So that's another huge, tell us about that.
Yeah, so that was really important to me because at that time when I was writing it, you know, a lot of the themes that we see in both of those books are themes that I was dealing with at that time.
Yeah.
And so when you see like the loss, the trust, you know, and anything like that, like those are things, found family relationships between parents and their children. Those are all things that I was going through. And so at that time, you know, my kids and I had moved to this totally new town in South Carolina. We didn't know a person, we didn't know anybody there, but we were going to make a new start there and everything like that. And so that meant that we had to find a new family there, and we had to like learn to trust these strangers, you know, and my neighbor, who is like, you know, she's a sister to me, Rhonda Moore, and today is her anniversary, so happy anniversary.
Happy anniversary, Rhonda.
And so she, you know, just like reached out and, you know, was like, hey, do you all need anything? And because of her kindness, you know, I learned to trust, and I'm like, I accepted her kindness. And so that's what like Nena did. When she encounters Delphine, you know, and Delphine reaches out to her and says, won't you come up? And Nena thinks about it just like I thought about it, and she was like, okay. You know what I mean? And so sometimes when you're faced with so much adversity and like everybody lets you down, there's like a shining light. There's always something that, you know, you can just be like, okay, I'm going to accept that. And so that was super important, that's her beginning to, after she's crawled through all of this stuff.
And Delphine, just to clarify, is Knight. Delphine Knight becomes her
mother. Yes, her adopted mother. And so Nena is able to recognize when someone is being genuine, and when somebody really means to like help her. And so she was just like, I just have to accept this thing and take a leap of faith. And so that's what she does. And the whole family ends up like welcoming her, which I really, really loved, and especially so with Eileen, her sister. I absolutely didn't want to have that strife of I'm jealous. I was like, no, you know,
they're so different.
They're so different, but like Eileen even sees in her like this is someone that, you know, we definitely need in our life, and I'm accepting her.
And Eileen is incredibly generous.
Yes, and you know, Eileen knows that she comes from a world of privilege, and so it's okay to bring this person on. Nothing is being taken from me, and now I have a sister.
Right, more.
And, right. And Nena is like, and now, I have a family again.
Right.
And so like they just go, and so it's very important to her more than anything, family, trust, and then also the relationships between father and daughter. So she's very close to her adopted father, Noble.
Yeah.
So yeah.
And then there's the mirror of that relationship in
Court.
A couple of other people
Yeah.
too.
And
I think that's another really important point that you just made about the idea that we are not just not just like learning how to trust, but learning how to sort of access the different parts of ourselves and be generous, because those of us who have grown up in privilege we have to recognize our privilege before we can check it at the door, so to speak. Yep. So and Aline does a really great, I'm glad you pronounced her name because I would have pronounced it differently. Okay, so then there's some wonderful aspects of some Ghanaian culture and stuff in here. There's one word that is spelled Wudini, but you clarify it's not pronounced like Houdini, which is how I would have.
It's not that.
So,
it's Wudini. Wudini, like wool there, and Wudini.
And what is that?
So that is for Tweet, which is one of the dialects in Ghana, and that means like killer. So it's not necessarily assassin, but that's what she is. And that was actually my original title for her, because I was like, that's what she is.
Right.
And so that's what's going to be the title. But the publisher had
I know that they like to take over.
Right.
Well, I like to play on Night.
Yeah.
It's so fun. And
and that came from my agent too. Like when we were trying to come up with like the name and the name that would work and like that whole
That was really smart. I love that. And Noble Knight and Delphine Knight, their names are so fabulous, right? Okay, so I agree that would have been an incredible title, but I totally also know how the
and it would have been hard for everyone to pronounce. So
everyone would have pronounced it, wrong.
Like it's not Houdini.
But also that was even the way you said it. I'm like, woo.
Yeah, like whoa there.
Whoa.
Just keep thinking like whoa there, and so Wudini.
Whoa, but you're doing the Dini in the back of your mouth.
Yeah.
Like I can't do that. Whoa, Dini. Yeah, I like it. Okay, I'm not going to stop butchering it now. Okay, then the other thing that shows up, especially when they come back when they go back to Ghana, is the significance of the Elmina Castle and the Door of No Return. Will you tell us a little bit about that? Because that's a dark part of the history.
Yes. So the Elmina Castle is in Ghana, and it is one of the castles that were used to transport people who were captured there, the Africans who were captured and then transported across the transatlantic, slave trade to the various destinations. And so like they would be funneled into that castle, and then the door is still there, and the door is there, and they mark it the door of no return, because once you go in, you rarely ever come through, alive to go back to your family. That is when you are shipped off and out. And so that's the significance of it.
Yeah. And your parents came when you were in before you were born. Have you been back then?
I have. I lived there for a couple of years with my grandmother while they finished school and everything, and then I came back when they were ready to have me here, and they wanted me to become a little bit more Americanized and things like that. So and then I've been back to visit. Yeah, it was a while ago, so I'm past due.
Yeah. Well, it's been hard to travel the last couple of years. Nobody's been able to go anywhere.
Very much so, yeah.
Well, that is, amazing, and I have heard beautiful things. My brother spent some time there and loved it. So, okay, and then in outdooring, there's all these fun things, and I always find myself like tagging that. Okay, you talk about an outdooring. So tell us about outdooring.
So an outdooring is basically it's like a baptism. But a little bit more than that. It is the presentation of your new baby. So it could be like weeks to probably months, because Africans are very superstitious, and so we don't want anyone around the new baby and a new mother so that they could be healthy and stuff
Right.
like that, or anybody who's bringing about bad juju and stuff like that. So you know, some months out, you know, they will have this grand party. So it's, you know, like your coming out party, but as a baby. And they also have like something called the naming ceremony. So you give them, you know, and those two are not, they don't have to be together, but sometimes they are. And so the outdooring, everybody comes and they just welcome the baby and they bring gifts, and it's just like this big huge party, and you just present your baby. I had one for my first child. My mom had it for me, and it was really nice, and we like all the gifts and the money that you get.
Exactly. Thank you so much for your generosity.
Yes,
exactly.
thank you for that. We appreciate it.
Exactly. So, in general, you know, the fact that you pulled in sort of your African heritage and Ghana as a specific country, because I think sometimes, you know, we hear about, I mean, you know, here we get stories about Africa and African culture. Well, that's a whole flipping continent, right?
Yep.
It's a very big place. You can't they can't all be lumped together. So I love that we really get to know, you know, about Ghana specifically. What, you know, so what, if you could, like, you know, have your readers walk away with something about your sort of, you know, what Nena's history is, her culture, you know, and I like that the great quote from Kirkus talks about this sort of like a, you know, reclaiming your tribe. You know, what would you want us to sort of really think about after we meet Nena?
Well, I want everyone to think about, gosh, that's a really good question. Like, there's so many things I want us to think about. But when it comes to culture, I definitely want readers to come away with a renewed, not even a renewed, because some don't have it to begin with, but a new sense of, oh, this is what, you know, Africa and Ghanaians and whomever are like. You know, it's not what you always might see on, you know, some of those commercials where people are hungry all the time, or whatever, or thinking of, you know, the continent as a third world, you know, or anything like that. You know, I mean, there are people in Ghana, in all of the countries that are very affluent and, you know, are just like us here. And so I want to kind of normalize, you know, that kind of culture that we have with our outdooring and the beauty there, and all of this history we have with, you know, the castle and just so much other things, right? But then I also internally want readers to come away with, you know, who is my tribe? You know, really, who is my tribe, and how do I, you know, I can find tribe in all these different things. And I can find, a reclamation of power too, right? Because, you know, as women, there are a lot of things that come at us. It could be divorce, it could be whatever, and things always take away our power a little bit. If you're in the job force, whatever the case. And so finding ways to like really reclaim who you are, your name, because that's something that's very important to Nena, is, you know, her name, because she was called so many things in the first book, and really lost her sense of self, and so really, you know, that. And then most of all, I just want people to come away with like, man, I was highly entertained with this stuff, you know? So like, and I'm able to like visualize it and everything like that. So I just want to paint a picture and give you like this full buffet. So when you close that book, you're like, oh my gosh, I'm full. But I also want another one.
Yes,
you know what I'm saying?
it's actually it's really valid, because I think, you know, so many of the questions I have are about sort of the details of the book, and then, you know, and her past and her background and all that. But actually, you know, you just don't even think about the fact that you've just read like 400 pages and it's just gone by so fast, because you are you're getting all these layers, that onion you're talking about, but also in a story that's like, oh my God, she's in trouble, like, you know. Or somebody else is in trouble and she has to save them. So it's this was not the first book you ever wrote, though?
No, that it's just the first one published. The first book I ever wrote was, well, that's all the way back in elementary school. You know?
Okay.
But like the first like real official book that I wrote was women's fiction.
Okay.
Yeah, and that one was shelved at that because I couldn't, you know, sell it at the time that I was trying to. But I'm going to come back to that one because I love that one.
Yeah.
And it's a really good story, and I've talked about it with my agent, and so I've just got some revisions and updates, and then
Smart.
You know,
Yeah. But exactly. Sometimes a book has to sit for a while to kind of let all the ideas get to where they need to be before you're ready to finish it. And then, so this was the second book you wrote.
So that was the second book I wrote, and
that's really impressive. Most of us have a bunch of books buried in the backyard before we've sold one, so that's very impressive. Okay, so then now, what's next?
So what's next is I just turned in my draft of the third
Does
book.
it have a title yet?
It does, but now it like kind of escapes me.
Oh, that's
And
fine.
it literally was just
Does
like a
it
couple
have
of days.
Night in the title?
It does have night in the title because we go with the theme at Thomas
Yes,
and Mercer,
we
right?
do, absolutely.
Yeah. So and I can't even think of what it is.
Okay, but it's another night book.
It is,
and I bet you it's going to be another beautiful
It
color.
is. We're talking about the colors now
I
because
love
I'm like,
it.
because my editor is the one who always comes up, Mega, and she always comes up with like the colors, and I was like, I don't know, Mega, how you're gonna like top those other two? What color?
Yellow,
can we,
red.
Yeah.
There's just gonna be
So she's been floating around some colors, and I think they're gonna like kind of play with it, and so that we can see. It's got to be something bold. And, someone said purple. Yeah, like So,
I love that.
Yeah. So
well, these are gorgeous. I mean, they are, and they stand out so well, and they look so great together. So they're super exciting. Okay, so you have the next book, and so this one is out September 13th. That's next week. It'll be by the time this hits live, it'll already be out. So you can go grab it right now. Grab a twofer. And then when do you expect that one out? And is it about the same time next year?
probably
Fall,
fall.
late summer, early fall. Okay, you guys. So now tell us, Yasmin, where should people go to find you? What's your website? Where are you on social media and all that good stuff?
Okay, so my website is yasminangoe.com, and I am on Twitter at Yaz A Writer, and on Instagram at author_Yaz.
Okay, and so just to clarify, Angoe is Angoe, and Yasmin is Yasmin. So yasminangoe.com, and she's all over. And we'll tag her, obviously, in all of this good stuff so you guys can check out these books and follow Yasmin into the next night adventure. So thank you so much for joining me today. This is so fun. So this was Killer Women with today's guest was Yasmin Angoe. Thanks for joining us, and we will see you next time. Bye.